Alright, now, I got a question from someone asking about, am I still training? No, not still training anymore. I gave that up. You know, especially since I have the dog with me now and stuff like that, but, you know, there's a little bit of money to be made in training. I mean, with the freight being a little bit slow, I mean, you know, I don't want to be training unless I'm pulling at least 4,000 miles a week, and I don't see that happening with the way freight is right now. But, you know, the bottom line is when I was training, I fucking hated my job. You know, I didn't get to enjoy all the fun aspects of the job that I used to get to enjoy. It just became straight fucking work. You know, it got to the point where I hated the job so much. I was tired all the fucking time and driving all night and stuff like that. And, you know, everything moves so, you know, I like when you got two people in the truck's always moving, you're always headed somewhere, and you're just churning out miles. You know, things go by a little too fast, and you know, you can't really enjoy the scenery or enjoy driving the truck as much. You're just worried about a bunch of other things, and you know, everything's just moving so fast all the time, you know, and I don't like that. You know, you know, I like being, now that I'm solo again, I like the job a whole lot more. You know, I like being able to relax at the end of the day. You know, I like having the dog with me. You know, I like the company of the dog, you know. Especially, I mean, you know, I had the dog for 2 years before I brought her on the truck, you know. And so now I get to have my dog at work with me all day. You know, I get to hang out with my, you know, how many jobs can you get where you can make money while hanging out with your animal? You know, I think it's a great thing. You know, gives me someone to talk to too all day. You know, I mean, she's not much for conversation, but she's a great listener. But anyways, no, I'm not training anymore. It's just not worth the headaches to me. You know, I mean, I actually had somebody offer me money, like, hey man, I'll pay you this much money if you train me and stuff like that. But, you know, according to everybody who comments on my videos, I'm a terrible trainer, and I made that one video, and I'm a complete asshole. And some guy went on and on and on and on about, you know, how much of a dick I am, and that my trainee, that because my first trainee was in the video, like, he probably hates you and thinks you're an asshole and blah blah blah. It's like, I mean, look, I mean, on all reality, I talked to my first trainee maybe a week ago, you know, months after I trained him. And, you know, me and him, every so often, we'll still talk. You know, he'll send me a text, stuff like that. We'll bullshit. You know, he's moved on to another company. He's working a lot closer to home and stuff. Me and him still bullshit. He's a great guy, you know. And, you know, he actually did, I will brag, he said, you know, hey, look, I got this great job now. And he does. He's got a great gig. And he said, I really appreciate you training me and, you know, teaching me all that stuff. I said, well, nothing to it, man. It was my job, you know. But, so, yeah, I mean, make all the assumptions about me that you want. You may think, because, yeah, I may come off as an asshole about some of my views, you know, but, or you may think that, you know, all my trainees hate me, or, you know, he must be a terrible fucking trainer, and blah, 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 and all this shit. Like, yeah, whatever. You don't know what you're talking about, you know. But anyways, you know, assume whatever the fuck you want, you know. Making an assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups, by the way. But anyways, moving on. That same person also asked me in that comment about, have I had any problems with the automatic transmission or the regen, you know, the DEF emission system and stuff like that. So, and I wanted to put this in a separate video because I want to talk about transmissions, right? So, you know, the truck I'm driving now is a 2015 Freightliner, and it's an automatic. and it has a 12-speed Detroit automatic in it, right? And I absolutely love it. I love it. Great drivability. It's so easy to drive. It's really great, you know. And I say that because the internationals that we have, they don't buy anymore. All our internationals are 2014s, I believe, maybe some 2015s, and they stopped buying them. They just suck. Especially they have Max Force engines, which are garbage. You know, a lot of bullshit you got to deal with. But the international Pro Stars in this company, they have 10-speed Eaton automatics, Ultra Shift or Auto Shift or whatever the shit they're called. And they're garbage too. And I'll tell you why. Because the 10-speed Eaton transmissions in the Pro Stars, and they have them in other trucks. It's you could option for this truck, but they don't. They have problems that Detroit has solved, right? For instance, when you're trying to back a spread, you don't really have this problem in a van trailer, because van trailers, when you jack them at 90 degrees, they don't fight you, they don't resist you, they just rotate. Well, when you're trying to back a heavy loaded spread axle trailer into a tight spot, that front axle in the trailer is going to start to resist you. It's going to start pushing back. Now, in the 10-speed auto that Eaton makes in the International Pro Stars, I trained in one. When that trailer starts to resist you, you're going to start rocking back and forth. The cab's going to really start rocking violently, right? And it's going to get to the point where you're not even moving. The wheels aren't rolling. You're just rocking the cab, and that's the clutch, you know, just grabbing and spinning that flywheel and spinning that flywheel, you know, or I'm sorry, it's the flywheel grabbing that clutch and spinning it. You know, it's rocking back and forth. And it's kind of all or nothing. You know, in order to get that clutch to engage more, you have to feed it some fuel. So then when it slaps that flywheel and you go flying back, and if you have very, you know, close clearance to another truck or a pole or whatever you're doing, you may hit something. And I hate it. It's dangerous. They're a bitch to drive. And anybody who drives those 10-speed Eaton automatics knows what I'm talking about. Well, Detroit fixed that problem in the Freightliners because, you know, they put in something called creep mode, which when you're trying to do a maneuver like that, there's sensors in it regulates how much the clutch contacts the flywheel, right? So you don't get that violent rocking. You know, it just barely engages. Now, if you use it for too long, it will overheat and it'll abort and it'll go out of creep mode, and it'll say, you know, clutch, you know, what it'll say? It'll say clutch temperature too high or something like that. But it's really good when you're trying to back a spread axle, you know. So I really like it a lot, you know. And, you know, look, as far as you guys saying, like, no, you know what? It's manuals are bust, you know. These automatics are what's wrong with the industry and blah, blah, blah. And now everybody talking their shit about the automatics. Look, let me tell you about something about the manuals in this company. I'm not talking about if you own your own truck, and I'm not talking about other carriers. I'm talking about in Western Express. If you get a 10-speed manual, not only is your speed governed, your top speed, your RPMs are governed. All your RPMs are set. They're lowered, right? So when you're in a 10-speed manual, the RPMs are governed at 1400. So, and that's the number one thing I hated about driving the manual is, you know, if you're going down a mountain, and that mountain's a little more steep than you figured it was gonna be, you know, and say I'm going over the mountain and I start on the downgrade and I'm in 10th gear and I hit the Jake brake and, you know, I look down and I'm starting to pick up speed a lot faster than I thought I was. The hill's a little steeper than I thought it was or whatever, right? So if your speed picks up to like 65, 70, 75 or whatever you let it get up to, because of that rev limiter, you're not able to rev high enough to drop down to ninth or eighth gear. So what you got to do is you got to slow that truck way the fuck down, because you have to be able to catch ninth or eighth gear in 1400 RPMs or lower, right? What I'm saying may not make a whole lot of sense to anybody who doesn't have a lot of experience driving a truck, but, you know, if you have driven a manual, you may know what I'm talking about. But anyways, you know, that shit pissed me off. You know, like in this truck, I don't have to deal with that shit. You know, if I start going down a hill, it's like, oh, this hill's kind of steep. I flip my little lever there for my Jake brake, and it'll rev as high as it fucking needs to drop to the next gear, or usually it'll drop 2 gears. Unless I'm going too fast, it'll at least drop 1 gear. It'll rev to 2500 or whatever the hell. It'll rev as high as it needs to rev. And it's the same thing going on an upgrade. You know, when you're going on an upgrade, you know, once you hit the in a manual, once you hit 1400, you know, you got to shift to the next gear. So a lot of what would happen is I'm going up in 8th, and then I hit 1400, and then I throw it in a 9th, and it starts backing back down because it can't hold it in 9th. So I'm bouncing. So I just keep going from 8th to 9th to 8th to 9th, or I just leave it in 8th and I just ride up, you know, at 1400. This truck doesn't do that. It has a sensor. It has a gyro inside of it. It knows when you're going up a hill. And so you drop into a gear, it'll raise that limit up to like 1700 or 2000, or depending on your speed and what gear you're in and the hill, it'll rev up to over 2000 if you're going real slow up a hill, like 4th or 5th gear. So the drivability is so much better in these 12-speed Detroit automatics. I love the shit out of driving it. Now, in whatever truck I personally own, I probably wouldn't own one of these automatics, and that's just because I feel like once you maybe get 500,000 or 1,000,000 miles on it, I don't know what kind of problems they're going to start to have. And furthermore, I don't know how expensive it's going to be to work on one of these automatics. Not to mention, I don't know how many shops, if I own my own truck and I have a problem with the automatic transmission, I don't know how many shops are going to be able to work on that transmission. You know, if I go to a shop and I own this automatic, and I'm like, hey, it's having problems shifting, you know, they may say, like, you're going to have to take it into Freightliner. We can't work on that shit. 10-speed Eaton manual, everybody can work on those. You know, it's a very universal engine, or transmission's been around for a long time, you know, and I'm sure parts are cheaper for it. So if I was going to buy my own truck, I would go with a 10-speed manual or a 13 or whatever the hell. But as far as a company driver, love the hell out of the automatic. It's absolutely great. Now, what I will tell you sucks about driving this automatic, the Internationals, the Pro Stars, those 10-speed Eaton autos, you can put it into manual mode and you can select what gear you want to be in. In the Freightliners, at least in my truck, manual mode is locked out and I cannot put it into manual shift. And that pisses me off when I'm trying to make a tight turn, like to turn around in a parking lot or something like that. When I start picking up speed, it goes to upshift and it drops a gear. And because that trailer is fighting me so much, when it goes to like from third to fourth, that trailer will catch me and it'll stall, and I'll stop or I'll roll back, and it'll go into fourth and it'll bog down, and then it'll drop back to second, and off we go again. You know, so that pisses me off. So we slow down, and it catches a gear, and it's bogging down, and then it goes to second, and here we go, and then it goes to third, and then it goes to fourth. That's what's annoying. Now, in a van truck, you probably don't have that issue because the trailer doesn't fight you. It's just, you know, they didn't design the truck, I think, with spread axles in mind, but it's a small price to pay for all the great things you get from driving the automatic. You know, I mean, that automatic Jake brake is awesome. Even when you have the cruise engaged, if you go 6 miles per hour over what your cruise is set at, it will, like, for instance, my truck's governed at 64. So if I set the cruise at 64, anytime it reaches 70, it'll activate the Jake brake at whatever level it needs to keep it at 70 miles per hour. It's nice. So I just go down mountains and hills, it'll go up to 70, and I just let it ride. I don't have to touch shit. I just hold the steering wheel and go. It's nice. I like it a lot. You know, it's a lot less work, especially if you're driving through West Virginia or Pennsylvania or any mountainous fucking state. You know, you're not having to throw fucking gears all day. Man, I tell you what, you know, just shifting and shifting up and down, up and down. Just fuck all that. Anyways, you know, but that's what you got in this company. Now, look, I mean, Van Division, they get to drive automatic Volvos. Don't know a damn thing about them. Never driven one. You know, the Van guys love them, and Western keeps buying the living hell out of these Volvos. You know, we got 1 million of them at the yard. I sometimes I think, like, why the hell can't the flatbed division get some, like, mid-roof, low-top Volvos, and we, you know, get some Volvos too? You know, or maybe some Macs. That'd be kind of cool. We had a couple of Macs, and they were really nice, you know, but right now you're either going to get an old ProStar or you're going to get a new Freightliner, and both of those are going to be automatic. The only way you're getting a 10-speed manual is if you get a 2013 Freightliner. And they're phasing them out, and they're selling them, and they're leasing them, and there's not a whole lot of them floating around on the company side anymore. Typically, if you see one, they're leased out. But, you know, hopefully that answers any questions you may have about the transmissions and stuff like that. But no, I haven't had any problems with this transmission. It's been absolutely awesome, you know, other than what I described. As far as the regen, haven't really had problems with regen. You know, I mean, if my truck is set weird to where if it's over 74 degrees outside, it won't shut down. It'll just keep idling and idling and idling, which I wish it would I do wish it would shut down so it can go into idle management mode and turn on and off as needed instead of just idling, because that means if I'm on a reset, I gotta idle all weekend. And you idle all weekend, you run the risk of waking up Monday morning and that light is flashing telling you got to do a park regen, which in my experience takes anywhere from about 25 to 50 minutes, you know, which can be a pain in the ass. You wake up in the morning, you really need to go and get your delivery in on a time schedule and a window, you know, a delivery window, and you got to wait 30 to 45 minutes for a regen, you know. But I've only had to do maybe 2 or 3 park regens ever. You know, they always do one at the yard when I PM the truck. Really haven't had a problem with it. You know, I mean, it's a company truck. You know, there's not really much to worry about. If there's a problem with the diesel particulate filter, they'll pull it out and slap a new one in. I mean, as I've heard a lot of horror stories about it, as far as, you know, owning an emissions truck with a DPF filter and shit. But that's for another day. No, I haven't had regen problems. I don't know about the international guys. They don't have idle management. They just idle their shit. You know, they have no choice. So, I mean, the longer you idle that truck, the more clogged that DPF filter gets. You know, and over time, it will start to clog more and more and faster. So, you know, I don't know how the international guys are. You know, I've heard stories about, you know, guys and internationals like having to regen their truck like once a week or all the fucking time, you know, and having a lot of problems. But no, I personally, I haven't, not with this Freightliner. This 2015's been a great truck. You know, I mean, it's only got 100,000. I just rolled over 100,000 miles, so it's still young and stuff. But you know, that's all I got to say about that. Let's see. Yeah, that's all I got for right now. I hope I answered any questions, or I hope I answered that question at least. Any more questions, post in the comments. Just as well, if you guys know of any other trucker vlogs that are out there that are worth a shit, post those in the comments too. I wanna check them out, because I'm trying to find some good trucker vlogs, and you know, a lot of the ones I look at are just, I don't know, kind of boring in my opinion. You know, not saying I'm better, just saying, you know, it's seldom I see trucker vlog that I actually like. So if there's any of them that you guys think are really good, post them in the comments so I can check them out. All right, well, I'll talk to you guys later.